All right, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. And trust you had a good week. It has not been too stressful. All right, so welcome to another session. Uh, just to confirm that you guys can hear me properly, can somebody please confirm that I am audible enough? And there are no. All right. Thank you, Henry. Uh, so we have been on the cloud computing journey for the past 3 weeks now, and I want to believe we are in a way in tune to all that we have been doing. But for the first half of this section, I will be giving time to, I don't know, for those that probably um, have issues or have been practicing and then have questions. So before we jump into our agenda for today or whatever it is that I have for us today, just going to, for those that have questions, basically, if you have any questions, if you probably were practicing and then you hit a roadblock and, from all the things that we have been doing, um, we have a few time to spend to try to fix whatever issue anybody's having. So I know from our last session, we went from an end to end deploying a WordPress site. Was there anybody that was able to complete that end to end?
I'm just trying to start the first project.
Which first project?
Yeah, I'm just trying to start the first project before the meeting just started now because I've been kind of preoccupied. Boss Moya, so I was thinking, is it a way you can drop like the steps, the notes on steps to the same steps to step guide on most of this project we are doing? And my other question is, I know we are just doing two projects for this whole training sections and all. So is there a way we can get access to other projects, like a resource, probably like a YouTube or maybe like a website or guide with tutorial steps or notes on project we can work on our own?
Mm, yeah, there are quite a number of resources out there. Uh,
Okay.
a lot of resource, you have YouTube videos and whatever it is you want to learn, this age and time, we have everything up and available to you. You have Medium, if you want to take advantage of Medium to help you with projects. Yeah, so Medium is a very good place to start if you are looking for, hands-on projects. Yes,
Sorry, what did you call it? Did you say medium?
Medium, yes.
How do you
Medium
spell?
Phantom project.
Yes, so it's just a place where people go to write, uh, showcase their documenting prowess, and then you can take advantage of those and then uh, go on there, try to follow along, you know, if you're able to replicate whatever it is that's, was documented there. So yeah.
Sorry, I'll need more. How do you spell that? Medium, or what's the website?
M-E
It's just Medium. Just put Medium.
medium.com. Just
I've seen it.
medium.com. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
medium.com.
Mm.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Max.
Good evening, Mr. Adford. So aside Austin that has not started any of his projects, has there been anybody that had time to work on you know.
I did follow along with the first one. The hosting a static website using S3.
Okay.
I didn't follow along in the class, but I watched the video during the course of this week, and I was able to do everything. I had a domain hosted on GoDaddy, but I did all the
Okay.
name server change and all that. But for the WordPress project, I watched the video, but I didn't follow along. I didn't do it. I haven't done it yet. So
yeah, I understand that, it gets really busy during the week.
mhm.
And so, but while you were following along, did you document, so that when you need to replicate it, you don't have to go through the video and follow me along. You can, have something you know, just
Yes. So what I did was I didn't document the entire process, but what I did was I know the first step was to create the bucket. The second step was to create CDN using CloudFront. The third step was to configure DNS using Route 53, and the final step was kind of like requesting a certificate using AWS Certificate Manager. So that was like those were like the main things. I know they're like sub component or subtask that comes
Mm,
along with that, and those are things that if I want to if I want to replicate that, there are things that I can actually Google
mm.
and get if I need to do it. So that's what I think I need, but that might not be what the case is for everyone else.
I was even talking about the WordPress one because there are quite a number of compared to the S3 one, we have a number of other moving parts. We have
But
the
yeah,
about
well, the WordPress one was more for me was a more comprehensive project, right? Because
yes.
we started looking at the VPC architecture,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like you re-architected. It was kind of like different from the initial architecture you drew from the first class. So we kind of looked at everything from and I didn't get to I didn't get to create the storage solutions, but definitely. So the videos that we have, right, that you shared with us,
Mm-hmm.
is that something that's going to expire at some point? Is it something that's going to be taken down, or
No,
it's
you
going to
have
be
access to it
perpetually?
for a year. You
Okay,
have access to it for a year.
okay,
Yeah, I'm sure.
okay. So yeah, so that's something that I definitely will have to go back to.
Mm.
Um,
Yes, like you said, truly it wasn't totally different from the original architecture we had. I just added um, all of the services now, and I think that is what I've been trying to get you guys to understand. So once you understand the infrastructure side, well, the networking parts, um, put in the different services. Yeah, the networking part also there are AWS services, but so they are more of like containers now, and then start putting different other compute service, database service, and what have you inside of that container. So once you can understand that foundational parts, that networking part, yeah, every other service just fits into that one we have for except for the
I was going to ask you. I think I've done all to the point of um, positioning my RDS. That's what I did last now. Like, by tomorrow, I'm going to finish by tomorrow, by God's grace.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, the RDS, can we stop it temporarily the way we stop this EC2 and maybe bring it up again when you want to bring
Yes,
it up?
I mentioned it in, before I started the last session that I actually, after I provisioning in, we had to take a break and then continue the next day. I stopped the RDS instance, and then when the class was about to start, I started. And it's not like the EC2 instance where your IP address, your public IP address will change. This uses a DNS, so that remains
Okay.
constant. So you
Because
can
there was no place for to start it. What you have is they stop. They stop temporarily, then you boot.
yes, so you stop
There's no.
so
Okay.
once you
Yeah.
stop temporarily, they'll tell you after 24 hours, they will automatically restart it because again, it's a database. Why would you want to stop it? So when and the option is even there when you want to stop it is to ask if you want to save, a
Okay.
stuff bits.
Okay, I have to stop it. I'm scared because it's still running now. I have to stop it.
You can't stop it. Yes, it's advisable to. That's why I mentioned it. That I actually stopped it because I don't want to accrue unnecessary cost, and then you get billed per as per hour or so for the compute resource that is on it. running on
What,
that.
what about the NAT gateway? Can I stop here as well? NAT gateway.
You can even delete. I might advise you can't stop the NAT gateway, but if you're not going to, if you know you're not going to practice or use it for some hours, I think you can even just terminate, delete it altogether, and then release the elastic IP address. And whenever you want to start, you can just provision it back. So what I'll do is, I think in our next project, I'll just quickly run through how to, because when you create a new NAT gateway, when you've deleted the one that you configured originally, you know, after you create your NAT gateway, you have to go to your route tables and then create route. And so once the NAT gateway is deleted, if you go to your route table now, you're going to see that there is a black hole. Yeah, it means
black hole.
That particular route is not what you're asking that route to go to does not exist. That resource that it's pointing to, that endpoint now, does not exist. So it's going to be a black hole. So you have to go in there and then reattach a new endpoint to that route.
I think after that now, I'll just do my EFS and maybe the.
You still have a long way to go. You have not done ALV, ASG, at the beginning. Yeah, on the
No,
same.
I've done my security groups, everything now.
Security group, yeah, but without your NAT gateway, most of the resources, your EC2 instances, and then the RDS, they probably will not. So you're just starting to, you're on the same page with us.
It's okay.
So nobody has actually gone through, and I
Tomorrow,
saw that the number of people that have seen those videos has gone up. Well, I was expecting that somebody would have maybe done it and then hit a roadblock, and then we can.
It's just the time.
Yes, I fully understand. Yeah.
I mean, if it's to follow exactly what you did, I don't think that's a problem. It's really to really like understand the whole concept behind it and why you're doing what you're doing. Because to follow along what you're doing, I mean, it's just to click, right? It's gonna work. If we see it work with you, the chances that it's gonna work, and because we have the exact same resources on our AWS platform as well. It's just really tying everything together and really understanding the reason why we're doing what we're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. So even after understanding, from experience, I know when you said just clicking, yeah, you may miss some parts that that's why I said everybody documents separately. Yeah. So when you are watching me do, if you probably take notes and then you replicate it, it may go smoothly like that. But I don't know, well, we all study differently. Say you want to be pausing exactly what I do, that's going to take much longer time for you to replicate it. And I know I try as much as possible to explain every step, some of the configuration, the options that I choose in when I'm provisioning some of these things. I try to explain those things. That's why it takes longer. I think I mentioned that most of the 2 projects we've worked on, you can actually, I know the last one, it spanned 2 sessions. It's something you can actually do in very, very short time, 30, 45 minutes at most, at top. Yes, even maybe for you to wait for some of those services to come up would maybe make it longer. But there are things that can be done really, really fast if you know exactly what you want to do. Yeah. So yeah, that's no problem though. I just wanted to be sure that we are all on the same page. For those that have not been practicing, you probably are not doing yourself too much good, because it's like Henry said, aside even doing it's when you do it, you get to understand how all of these pieces come together, because you want to ask yourself, okay, why is the RDS, and then why do we have the RDS service inside of this architecture and this application? Why is the EC2 sitting in the private subnet? All of those things, when you do them, I know I mentioned try to mention them, in class over and over again. And we'll soon see most applications actually have the same structure. Yeah, albeit the tech stack now that is being used in creating them, in creating those applications may change. Yeah, so we'll see. Most again have the same underlying infrastructure, just varies from organization to organization now. Say, okay, yes, we want to deploy for high availability. We need this number of replicas and a few other aesthetics now out, make the difference. Okay, so if you guys don't have any questions from what we've done, I think it's safe to continue. So today,
sorry, I wanted to ask you too. Sorry, the SNS I saw up there. SNS, that diagram as well. What is it doing there?
so as part of our, it was not necessary there actually, because it's actually baked into the auto scaling group. When we created the auto scaling group, we created an SNS topic there that, okay, yes, when the SNS, the auto scaling group creates a new instance when it scales, it should send a notification. Yeah, so SNS is just for sending notification. You can send notification to emails, you can send SMS, you can even send to CloudWatch, or even use it to trigger some other form of events. Yeah, so the SNS is also a service. Like I said, all of these services, they all work together, albeit maybe they go from very basic functionalities now, as basic as just sending an email when there is a new instance that gets provisioned as part of auto scaling, something very basic like that, to triggering, another set of events. Say, okay, yes, when ASG, I just want to remain on that ASG part. You can use SNS in a wide range of solutions now. Yeah, so say if ASG creates a new instance now, trigger a Lambda function to provision some other service to that can really get really, really complicated. Yeah. Yeah, but the cruise of SNS is a messaging service, using to send messages from different AWS services, amongst AWS services, and even to external services, say an email provider now. Usually, you add it to your architecture. Yeah, I think I wanted to add it inside of that architecture, and I decided not to, and I forgot to remove it. Yeah. All right. I was actually expecting that we'd have more questions around all of those things that we have touched on, particularly the last session that we had, the last project we worked on. But again, today would still be on making sure that all of these pieces actually fits together, that you guys understand why we are doing this. We are not just doing it for doing sake, like Eri said, understanding why we are creating this, why we are creating this service, and why we are even using them together is what we would try to touch on today. That's why I termed it solutions architecting, because that's one of the, if you can, both as a DevOps engineer or whatever role that you will be holding, in today's IT world, you should be able to talk about the reason why you are doing whatever it is that you're doing now, why you are provisioning an EC2 instance, why you're choosing a particular instance type, why you are creating multiple availability zones, why you even want to have a custom VPC, very basic things like that. You should be able to talk about it, or you should be able to understand why the services are being used. And I think it was Henry again, I don't know who asked I can't remember now who asked in the last session if anybody's trying to take certification. So most from the little certifications that I've taken, especially AWS, I'm not sure most of those ones, their questions are kind of scenario based, and so they'll paint a picture in words for you, and then they'll have a series of questions underneath that scenario. So and this will test your ability to, okay, yes, an organization has this number of services, they are using these services, and then they are trying to move to another services. What would be the best line of course of action, and all of these things. So we'll try to start building on all of these things now, because again, on this journey, you should start having that in mind, that everything that you will be working, every tool, there's a reason why this tool is being used, and they are all interconnected in every way. The server management that we did at first, and then the cloud solution, cloud architecting, cloud computing that we're doing now, they're all intertwined. If you are not comfortable with the terminal, you're going to struggle, while you're trying to use different other tools now, in AWS, not just in AWS now, other both infrastructure as code tool, and other DevOps tools, that you'll be coming across. Yeah, so that is what we will be focusing on today. And I know I've been saying a lot now. Henry, I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
No, you're saying someone asked a question about someone about taking the AWS Solutions Architect certification.
Yeah.
I was the one I was asking because
Oh.
my goal is to actually prepare for that exam right after this training.
Makes sense. Yeah. So most of the tools we're covering are the things that you get tested on. Like I said, solutions is going to be around their scenario-based questions you're going to have. Yeah. So welcome again, everyone, to class. Welcome to my TED Talk. Life always throws us curveballs. Yeah. So and it's not always all rosy, all on the high. So there are times that we will be down, but while we're trying to accomplish different tasks, we would even be so frustrated, and then we want to give up, trying to something you've been doing over and over again, and then you try to do it, and then it's giving you a completely different result. And that's the kind of down I'm talking about. Obviously, there are different other types of down, especially in this age and time now, so much is going on. But in this, and then you guys would see you'd run into errors of time and again. Yeah. And then you won't, yeah, there are cases where you'd have to, again, just take a step back and then leave that problem and then come back to it. But for most time, you want to stay on it. You want to keep climbing, keep looking for why that particular, especially when we start looking into configuration now, the problem might just be an extra space, and then for the most part, you would need to go from top to bottom, examining each line. That's the climbing, yeah. And then you can't be tired of, because maybe you have to deploy to production, and then they've given you, the product managers have given you the go ahead, say, yes, please move from staging to production. And then that build keeps failing. You can't tell them that it's failing and so you're giving up. Yeah, so you're going to keep at it. And when you guys get to continuous integration and continuous delivery, you're going to hit plenty of roadblocks. Your build will fail time and again. Trust me, there's no because I think in the DevOps community they have this saying that if your build goes smoothly, the first time you try it, it means someone higher is behind you. Yeah, except maybe you probably are the developer, and then you understand exactly the processes, all of the uh, script and what do you call this thing now? Migrations that need to run, for the application to run smoothly, the first time. Yeah, you're going to definitely have to try over and over again. Yeah, so downtimes are inevitable, moments in life, in life in general, and then in our deployments, in our application services provisioning. I've had sessions where, before the class, I ran through what I wanted to demo, and then when it got to the time to demo, everything was just not working out, and for almost the whole of that session, I was in there sweating to make sure. And eventually, when I discovered it was just an indentation, and it was uh, almost going to make me break my PC. Like, why didn't you just tell me that this was where your problem is? Yeah, so things like that would definitely come. This would not mean that we're going to abandon learning so many times when I've started different learning and then abandon it because we hit roadblocks. Like, I don't even understand what I'm doing on this, and we jump to the next one. Yeah. So we would be learning, relearning, unlearning, and relearning on this journey a lot. Like I said, it's a very porous environment. Things change. Like, how you deploy a particular service today might not in the next maybe you get different UI, and you'll be like, because I have a an outline of how I'm supposed to go about this, and then I'm seeing something different. That does not mean you're going to abandon that service. Yeah, you're going to learn that new way of doing the same thing that you're trying to achieve. Yeah, so um, and welcome once again, everyone. Our agenda for today, for this week, is quite extensive. Yeah, albeit most of them are some theoretical part of things that we probably are familiar with, but we'll just be building on those things. We'll be starting up with the compute overview. That's I mentioned that the EC2 instance is probably the most popular of all AWS services. Yeah, because you have quite a number of PaaS offerings now that is dependent um, on the EC2. And most times when you hear of EC2, or when you hear of servers, first thing you think about is EC2 instance. People there are organizations that even call them VPS now. Developer was still telling me yesterday that he's looking for a free VPS that I can use in testing a few things. Like, why don't you just get an AWS account and then you have free tier? Or even an Azure or Google Cloud, most of them actually offer you some form of free credits to test run and then to draw you in to see the power and the beauty of, cloud computing, and then you're unable to go back because you're already, it's like a drug. Yeah, so we'll be learning, taking a deep dive into the EC2 instance, well, an overview of EC2 and a few things that is worthy of note, especially again for not just for those that want to take the certification, for those that will be moving into maybe a role. There are things that you should understand about it that would help you make impacts, to the organization. Get to give advise them. Okay, I noticed we're doing this, but there's this better way to actually go about this. Yeah. Then after that, I was going to put CloudFormation on a different is a service, yeah, that helps in automating. So we'd also look at CloudFormation, yeah, and then we'll use it to deploy a few, maybe just an EC2 instance. So because we would still be moving on to the IAC module, so I won't be spending too much time on CloudFormation because AWS proprietary, but it's just good to be introduced to it, that there is an infrastructure as a code offering in AWS offers. Yeah. Then would have a discussion around solutions architecting. Like I said, we would talk about, I'll paint a few scenarios to us, and then we'll just talk about it. You guys would, you know, again, everybody would try to contribute as much as possible to that discussion. This will test your understanding of the few services that we've talked on, we've worked with, and maybe some of the things we'll talk about during the, uh, compute overview. And then I would want you guys to actually start working together. So we'd have like a mini class work. You guys would select somebody that would share a screen, and then you guys would work together to create a 4-tier architecture. You don't have to, when we get to that bridge anyways, we'll talk about it. And if time permits us, we'll look at Elastic Beanstalk. I can't remember if we talked about Elastic Cache, but we may be using Elastic Cache in this should be taught project 3, sorry. What have I done? Yeah, so we would work on another project. Obviously, this would not be not today or even tomorrow, because it's going to require there are quite a number of moving parts in this project. Also, we'll be deploying a highly available. We've deployed an highly available web app, but this is going to be a more dynamic web application. And like I said, most applications have the same kind of architecture, if you want to put it. They follow the same, especially web applications. Yeah, they work alike. Yeah, so most web apps have the same. That's talking about looking at it from uh, ALB, and then having your auto scaling and what have you. So you may see some repetitions, and repetition is for emphasis. So that when you come across any of these things, you are able to explain them real fast. So I'll jump into talking about EC2 instance. So this is going to be very theoretical, so you guys probably would get bored. I'm just trying to log into this. Oops, my keyboard is not connected. Sorry. It's connected now. What's going on? Keyboard is not pressing. Okay, now you're connected. Oops. I'm lost. wrong with the keyboard? All right, so like I said, we'll just be spending a few minutes talking about the EC2 service. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so some of the things, the components of the EC2 service is what we'll be looking at very, very briefly. And like the EC2 is like the main compute service of AWS, and is basically our server in the cloud is somebody else's computer. Yeah, so when people hear about cloud computing, the first thing that comes to mind is the server somewhere sitting somewhere. I think we should have gone beyond that. Is have a better understanding that it is actually a physical hardware, albeit we are not directly interfacing with it. It's not right in front of us, but we have a suite of APIs that we can use in both managing, as much as we want. That's physical machine that is sitting, in different parts of the world now. So, and then the EC2 instance is how we manage or create those servers now. Yeah, so I will be going very briefly touching on this thing. So the instances is basically the instance, like the overview, yeah, of what we have running. Instance type. Instance type defines basically the virtual hardware now that supports our EC2 instance. Yeah, so we have dozens of instance types available. Yeah, quite a number of them, varying in different dimensions now. We have CPUs, depending on the number of CPUs or vCPUs, memory. Okay, the architecture now also. We're having x86, 64 gigs, 64-bit architecture, and what have you. The memory, storage type, network performance, and then you get the price also. You get about for most Windows pricing. See those pricing in here. So the instance types are usually they are grouped into families. Yes, so we have different families. From here, we see the T2, T2. Those are a family, and this is to depending on what workload that you want. The workload will determine what kind of family you want to, or instance type family you want to use. Yeah, so we have sorry. Let's talk about this first. Yeah, so the the instance family, yeah, we have quite a number of them. This is yes, okay. They are paginated though. So we have the T2 and T3, and we have T3As now, I think. AWS keeps reinventing new instance types. They are more, they are low costs, general purpose instances. If you highest you go on the T3, I think it's 8 gig of, 8 CPUs and then maybe 32 gig of memory. So whatever, yeah, that's from medium to the workload is more suited for general purpose workload now. And then again, depending on the class, they see on what you want to do. We have even the classes, the family now that is more for data warehousing. I remember our provisioning instance that we use for data warehouse, and then it was a D, and it's for dense storage. Basically, we have the C family, which is compute optimized. You can see from the CPU and then from the memory, those they have kind of go from very, from very small ones, but the it goes really large. You have quite a number of the CPU goes you have large CPUs. It's for compute optimized for workloads requiring um, processing power. Yeah, your CPU needs to process quite a number of things. You want to use the C family. So if you for those I what's the name of this thing now? Can combine them together to create an high performance kind of uh, compute infrastructure now. Again, there are a number of them. See, so paginated up to 16. Yeah, even said now, I've not that I'm seeing this Z1D family for the first time. We have, again, think AWS has proper documentation on the different instance type and then what they are best suited for. But for the most part, we'll be sticking with the T3 family. Well, because now our workloads now are even moving away from using EC2 instances. We are now containerizing most of our applications. So, but it's still coming very, very handy. There are different kinds of application architecture now. Yeah, so choosing best one is uh, grows. So network performance also increase within particular instance, family as they grow. So we see that we have from the T family goes from low to moderate up to 5 gigabits, per second. Again, depending on your workload and then what you are trying to achieve. We have GPU-based instances for graphic and general purpose GPU compute workloads, and even memory optimized one. Yeah. Moving on, I would launch template. I think we talked about that yesterday. I said yesterday. Last week we used it. It's small. It's like a blueprint now to that we can use to provision multiple instances. We use it as part of our auto scaling group, which is something we've also we touched on. I will come to the different pricing models that we have. Okay, let me just touch on the pricing models once and for all. So there are different pricing models. So one of the beauty of cloud computing is the flexible pricing models that we have. So you can go from you pay for exactly for what you use. Yeah. So the easiest model now, or the normal model that we have or that we use is the on-demand pricing model. It simply means that you pay for the compute capacity of the EC2 instance by the hour. Most of them are built by the hour. I think some pay per second also, depending on which instance type now. There are no upfront payments, and it's suited for first time if you want to test out using AWS. You want to test out deploying, building an application if you're a developer and then you want to have a server that you use in housing all of your source code and what have you. So for short-term workloads that's not need to run for a certain period of time, you just want to use it to test out things. Yeah. So you only get charged again basically for what you use. You're not paying for what is not used. Yeah, that's why you can always stop and start, and then you only get billed for the hour that's is being used. That's the normal pricing model for or the default pricing model, I would say. And we have reserved instances. In this model, you get discounts. I think AWS boasts of up to 75% discounts compared to the on-demand, pricing model. So you basically buy a reservation using their different payment terms actually. So we can actually have, depending on what platform you want, you have different payment options. Yes. So you can go for the no upfront payments. Even though you are reserving it, you still get charged, I think, at the end of the month for that reservation. And then you can go to partial upfront payment. So the more upfront payments. So if you want to maximize your savings on this kind of reserved instance, you probably want to use a partial upfront payment or upfront payment. With that, you get more discounted, yes, for making that reservation. Yeah, you receive kind of large instance. So, and then you can still have yes, different. There used to be three of them. Standard and the convertible offering class. This provides, so if you have, depending on, again, your workload, this will determine what you want to choose. You can choose, if you have, say, steady kind of, you want to have your application up and running, you know that your application, this instance type is what we're going to use. The traffic coming in you're not going to scale. You're not expecting an unexpected kind of spike in traffic, and then yes, you would probably want to choose this offering, the standard. Again, all of these settings are part of your reservation type, but there are cases where you want to make a reservation and then you're not sure of your traffic. You might get an increase in traffic for that particular instance, and maybe you don't have auto scaling on it. Yeah. So with that in mind, you probably want to choose a convertible kind of reserved instance. Yeah, albeit again, the discount you're going to get on different offering now would reduce. If you're using a standard, you can't change the instance type once you make that reservation. That's what you're going to use depending on the maybe 1 to 3 months or 3 years reservation you want to do. For that duration now, you are not changing the instance type in any way. But the convertible one means your discount will reduce, and that gives you flexibility to switch instance type. I think there's still some other caveats around switching the instance type now. Yeah, so again, when you have applications with steady state usage, so I was in an organization, and for the first 2 months, I just had to use that to understand, as it was an health tech organization, understand what kind of, because I saw quite a number of EC2 instances up and running. I had to be sure, okay, yes, why do we have this number of instances? And then I got proper information for 2, I think was it 2 or 4 of those instances. I saw, well, from information I got, that they've been running those instances for the past 2 years. And my first question was, did you reserve those instances, or you have been paying on demand monthly? Like, it's monthly, we pay for it. Yeah. I was like, oh, wow. Is it not better, won't you save more when since you know that this particular instances are not going anywhere, they need to be up and running at all times. It's not better, and you save, more by reserving those instances. Yeah, and the manager was a bit skeptical when I told him there are options actually to this. You can go for no upfront. What you're going to save would not be as much as if you pay all upfront compared, as in. So I immediately said, okay, you'll come up with, let me document all of these things that you're saying to me. And then I went to my and the pricing calculator, showed what they've been paying for those 4 instances. Yeah, there were 4 of them. For 2 years, and I did for each of, say, when you need to go pay, if you don't want to pay upfront, but you are reserving those instances, and then did for the partial payments, upfront payment, and then the full upfront payments. Immediately, the price difference was so much. For the first year, I did it for 12 months first, got back to him. I think I did for, say, we pay if we want to reserve for a year, and then I did reservation for 3 years also, and it was, the price significance was, they immediately they started, wrote memos, and like, okay, yes, we need to jump on this. This will save us cost on the long run, because it was quite a number of savings. Until date, I think they still, I have that reservation running. So those are some of the things you would come into an organization, and then you want to first take note of which service is best suited for which pricing model, and you don't want to. So it's always, when you commit upfront. So again, the prices would differ. Even though on the more granular, it's still being billed probably hourly, but what you're going to pay per hour maybe will go from 42 0.42 cents down to some 0.37 cents. And if you do math per hour for those, it would grow up. Yeah. So we have sports instances is also a pricing model. This is, how do I explain this? So AWS have, they have very large data centers, and then obviously they would have some compute resources that are not used. So AWS, in a way, they like through they want to monetize every um, server now that is available. So those unused servers, they kind of throw them open. So you kind of bid for those unused servers now. And AWS discounts the spot instances so much. So you can't you request for it, and then you say how much you want. You can pay per hour for your that you want to pay for those set of instances. Again, it's more like a bid. You can have others pay slightly above that. Yeah, so it's not a very so if you have workload that should be stable, yeah, you don't want to use spot instances for long-term workloads now. Yeah, so because spots, they can't be terminated, if that's, say, that server now is required, they terminate your that instance, and you don't have access to it again. Yeah. So, but if you have applications that have, flexible start and end times, not, can be off at any time. Usually, data analysis kind of workload that maybe runs in batches, maybe so if also I know organization that wanted to provision an high performance computing kind of architecture, and then when they saw the price for using paying even for reserving, so reserving instance you get maybe up to 75% discount, but for spot instances you can get up to 90% discounts. So when we did the maths, we saw that okay, spot instance might actually work for this, would save quite a number of costs, because just needed to run some batch jobs, but even though we need to create like an high performance computing architecture, combine quite a number of large instances together, because those big data and data analysis jobs require very extensive high computing resources. So using your spot instance for those kind of workload, because your job runs in batches. If the compute resource is not available, those jobs would not run. So you can quickly maybe do another request for another spot instance, or if there are no if those jobs need to run like almost immediately, you can create on-demand kind of computing resource for those, even though you're going to pay more for those. Again, this is not for long-term. It's not a long-term kind of pricing model. You only just take advantage. Say you want to you need a pricing model that is flexible, and then will save you so much cost. Spot instance is that pricing model that you use. Dedicated hosts is basically a physical EC2 instance server now that is fully dedicated to an organization or for an individual also. So this is mostly suited for, say, you have an existing software license. Most Windows servers, maybe SQL servers now, an organization, they've paid for licenses, and then they want to move those licenses. They want to use them as part of their infrastructure. You can come get dedicated host, and then because you would have full access, to patching and what have you. There are some times that maybe your license is better to help meet compliance requirements and what have you. You can purchase a dedicated host and even pay on demand hourly, or you can even reserve also. But those are those servers now are dedicated to an organization. Again, use cases is mostly to meet compliance requirements, and the organizations that always they have their own set of licenses, and then it's more of a bring your own license kind of pricing model now. And savings plans. So this is kind of new, not the opportunity. It's not new though, because it's been around for a few years now though. So this is also a flexible pricing model. Is similar to kind of reserved instances in terms of commitments. Yes, we commit to a consistent amount of usage per hours, and it's for again good for serverless. If you have a serverless architecture, kind of, you have like Fargate or Lambda now that would need to you have an architecture, Fargate, Lambda, you can use those kind of serverless services to create EC2 instances, well, yeah, on the fly, depending on the kind of application now. Yeah, so all of these pricing models are available. Capacity reservation, I'm going to skip that because it's fairly new and I've not been privileged to even read about what it does. Yeah, so we have all of these pricing models. So depending on what the organization's goals are for savings and then for their workload, you have all of these options, yeah, to create all of these types of choose from the different pricing models. And trust me, for those that want to write exams, this would come out. It comes out a lot in the exam, choosing the right pricing model. Yeah, so I'm going to move on to images. If you guys have any questions, please, you can always ask while speaking. I want to go over these theoretical parts. I know we are used to this already, but there are a few things that should be touched on. We have talked about AMIs, images, I think before, but again, it defines the initial software that will be on our instance when it is launched. Yeah, defines every aspect of the software, the state, the operating system, the initial state of maybe different patches and what have you. Some even come depending on the AMI. You have some application softwares that come pre-bundled inside of your AMI. There are different sources for our AMIs also. They can be where do I get this from? There are some that are published. Okay, it's when I want to launch the instance. Yeah. There are those that are published by AWS. Those are normal ones. So I come and browse more. So we have different sources. We have the AWS Marketplace, which is like an online store for AMIs now. So you need, you don't want to go through, you have some enterprise kind of applications now that's having to set it up yourself now is going to take, it's going to mean a lot. So there is the marketplace now, depending on what you want to set up. Yeah, that would give you. Some of them are open source ones, and some of them are paid for also. So we have community AMIs also, which is published by anyone. So the market is just more okay. Marketplace and community. It's just that the difference is that the marketplace, they are AWS trusted third parties, AMIs now, and then we have community AMI that's published by anyone. You can also bake an AMI and then publish it there. Say you, yeah, want to go too much this. I'll also like to know that AMIs they are regional. Yeah, so if you pick an AMI from Ohio now, and then you want to use it to launch an instance in, say, North Virginia, it's not going to work. Yeah, because you can only launch an AMI from the region in which it's been stored. Yeah, so when you and this would also come to when you create your own. So you can create your own AMIs. We would create our own AMIs soon. So when you create your own AMI, by default, it's marked private and it's going to be in this. Yeah, you can also, make it public if you want to. Again, add to share it with other AWS accounts if you want to, if you have to. Yeah, so let's move on. I want us to AMI catalog is just a catalog of all your own private AMIs. We talked about Elastic Block Store, I think, last week. Yeah, albeit here do I want to dwell on this? Yeah, block store is basically, your storage that you add to your, that is attached to your EC2 instance now. Give me a minute, please, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. We have our block store, so we can, as part of our block store, I think it was who mentioned something about ephemeral storage yesterday. Is actually an EBS storage, although is not persistent storage. So you have it's a root device kind of volume where your operating system actually runs on. So yeah, so it's ephemeral. It's an instant store. We call it an instant store. It's an EBS volume, but is attached directly to. It's part of your EC2 instance now. It's where the operating system actually sits in, and then where your buffers and your caches and all of those ephemeral storage actually is in. And then you can now have, an extra volume, so you have a workload that needs more of a durable block storage. So you use the EBS to it volumes now. You can have an EBS volume. EBS volumes that you create a volume and then you attach it to your EC2 instance. You can create multiple EBS volume. It's more, yeah, it's like partitioning your physical hard drive now. Although, yes, and then you can have multiple EBS volumes and then you attach it to a single EC2 instance, but I think we covered all of this block store. You can only attach a single, an EBS volume can be attached to only a single instance at a time compared to our EFS where you can mount on multiple um, multiple instances. Yeah. So we have different types of volumes. I think we talked about that yesterday, general purpose and operations IOP and all of those HDD. So we have life cycle, instance life cycle. I think I want to skip this. It's really not, it's more for creating AMIs and then snapshots. And security groups, we've covered this, is instance level security. It's like a virtual firewall, yeah, controlling traffic in and out of our instances. Elastic IP addresses are used to persist or have a same instance, same IP address for your instance, even when you start and stop it, you have the same instance. Key pair is like your pass key now for connecting to your instance using SSH. Yeah, so and this actually creates you get a public and a private key pair. Yeah, so the public key pair is actually stored inside of whatever EC2 instance that you create now, and then the private one, it gets downloaded to your local machine, and that's how that connection is being made. Yeah, because they were cut from the same cloths. If they don't match, yeah, it means you're using the wrong key pair, public private key pair, to try to connect to the wrong the EC2 instance. Yeah. So the rest of this, I think, comes inside of when we want to create our instance. We've also covered all of this. For this, it was mostly the pricing part I wanted to touch on mostly. We've seen this interface over and over again, creating of our instances, the networking part also, where you choose your security groups, and also for the advanced details here, you can choose. We'll talk about instance profile later, which we use in kind of getting temporary access to. So you have an application that requires maybe to pull, or you want to pull from an EC2, an S3 bucket now. Like mentioned, most of these AWS services, even though they inside of the same VPC, you still need to explicitly, um, grant permission for them to be able to talk to each other. They can see each other, but they still need some form of access, kind of permission to be able to talk to each other. Say you want to, you have an S3 bucket now, and then you want to download from that S3 bucket, you need to have, say, from an EC2 instance now, EC2 instance must have the right permission to be able to read from S3 and what have you. So you do that using the instance connect, the instance profile, and a few other configurations that we have yet just to manage how your instance is being provisioned. Here, if you have capacity reservations and what have you, you have all of those settings inside of this. We have used our metadata to bootstrap our EC2 instance now, and all of this. Yeah, so again, the EC2 instance is something that you will get to for all of the features. Is when you are provisioning different types of instances for different workloads. Now you get to fully explore all of it. There's so much actually going on. You get to use each and every one of these different services. I know we've touched on quite a number of them already. Yeah, but we have used our load balancer and our target group. That's why I didn't bother coming here, and also the auto scaling group. The trust store also is fairly new. I think you use it for mostly client authentication. Yeah, I remember I wanted to provision an API gateway one time for a backend application. I had to come and try to learn how to use it, but the solution wouldn't have worked. Would have been, maybe may have worked, but it was not the right solution. So I had to use an application load balancer. Yeah, that's part of that's provisioning. So the trust store is also here. All right. So we'll quickly look at AWS CloudFormation. I hope, are there any questions? I know all of this is there are things that but around the pricing models, do we have any confusion in there? Or I know in the sports instance, I don't fully really understand how AWS does or manages that, but yeah. No questions. So we can move on to CloudFormation, yeah? Are you guys with me? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right, so pricing model, they're fine, yeah? All right, cool. All right, so CloudFormation. I've said it's basically is AWS's own proprietary information as code tool. Yeah, so basically allows us to define our infrastructure using code, which automates the process of creating and managing resources. Yeah, and automation again is something that would save you a lot of headache on the long run. So, and CloudFormation it manages outlines your AWS infrastructure in a declarative way. I think most infrastructure as code tool they use that declarative approach. That's basically it just means you tell it, okay, yes, I want two EC2 instances, and then I want to use the security group. It's just we'll say the declarative nature of configuration basically is like speaking English or instructing somebody. So and then it creates we'll see all of these things in a bit. We talk about template files. So we have the template files that we use to create stacks. So these are the terminologies that you just need to, once you have those, terminologies in your toolbox, yeah, good to go in CloudFormation. Again, I won't spend too much time on CloudFormation because we'll be jumping into using Terraform as our infrastructure as code too. So again, the benefits is helps you create and destroy infrastructure on the fly. So for our architecture now that we have, say you have your NAT gateways and all of you, and then having to creating those over and over again can be kind of tricky. So you need to kind of use the CloudFormation to automate all of those things. And even though CloudFormation kind of automates the generation of the diagram for your templates, is not very, very detailed. We'll see that in a bit. And then you can separate concerns. You can create many stacks, for many apps, and then you can have them layered. So you can have a VPC stack now. Stack basically is like a grouping of of different AWS resources. Yeah, so you can have a stack for, you can decide to have a network stack that will have you can even go very, very granular. I've seen different uh, separation, when it comes to infrastructure as code. We call it modularizing your configuration. Can go very, very granular. Yeah. So, and you won't be reinventing the wheel. There are existing templates that you can use. And when it comes to infrastructure as code, and maybe I keep emphasizing that you will be leveraging documentation a lot, because again, this is because things change very, very rapidly, especially when you're writing. If you provision infrastructure very regularly, you probably would have, maybe you have templates now or something you have created for yourself in the form of a template in provisioning infrastructure, and then you try to run that, and then things break. Yeah, so the AWS documentation is always your, go-to, your single source of truth, and we'll see that in a minute now. So I keep saying most of these services, they rely one on the other. So for us to create stacks inside of our CloudFormation, the template files is usually gets uploaded to S3. I believe when we actually do this, it will make more sense. There are different ways of deploying our CloudFormation template. Actually, we can do it manually, or we can actually automate it, which is using the AWS CLI. You can even integrate this with some continuous delivery tool, but we won't be using all of those now. So like I put in here, we're going to use deploy an EC2 instance, very, very basic. But before we even deploy that, we can come and create a stack. Again, you can import resources if you have resources already that you want to just deploy your stack in, but we'll be creating a new stack. You can choose an existing template, but we don't have an existing template, or you can use a sample template. Yeah, so this sample template, I just want to quickly demonstrate. So like the WordPress thing we did last time, yeah, we can replicate it, have CloudFormation quickly. So this template installs a highly available, scalable WordPress deployment using a multi Amazon RDS database. This is basically what we did in the last session. So we can do this. We have quite a number of templates also in here. Like I said, you leverage template. You can have your LAMP stack, Ruby on Rails stacks, WordPress. This is for if you want to deploy to a single instance now, then, or you can have for multiple. So I'm just going to choose this. I'm not going to go ahead and create this. I said you can also build from an application composer. This is basically, there's a visual builder, yeah. But yeah, not very, very fun to work with, I'll tell you that. So we can, this sample template, I can choose to view that's in the composer now to have like a pictorial representation of what this will be deploying. And then you see all of the things, all of the different components, yeah, that will be deployed for you. So this is like the visual representation. You have security group, ALB listener. So all of those things that we actually manually created, those are the things that will be created for us. We have our DB instance, our database instance now. Launch config. This would be part of our auto scaling. We have the load balancer, the target group, the load balancer security group. So these are all of the things and how they are kind of referenced to be used amongst themselves. You can also see this in the template file. Say you want to, so this is what our AWS templates actually looks like. This is the code that we're talking about. Yeah, this is in JSON though, so you can choose your template file can either be in JSON or YAML. So this is JSON currently. If I switch this now, this is YAML. I find YAML more readable, maybe because I've had some very horrible experience with JSON, forgetting you have some, when I see this opening and closing braces, it gives me PTSD, some sort of, when we have to be using extra, yeah, it's not the best in terms of readability. JSON is a very, very wonderful, language, but when it comes to configuration, templating, and what have you, I think YAML is more recent. Actually, JSON was the de facto for all of this. So YAML is more descriptive. Sooner or later, you guys would, okay, for Terraform, we'll be learning a different language. But again, JSON it uses a key value pair. So this is a key, and then this is a value key, and then you can have nested objects kind of. Oh, yeah, and you can have arrays also. We have different data types in here. I won't spend time again. Won't be focusing on CloudFormation, even though it's a wonderful tool if you are AWS, you want to stick to AWS. We'll be moving from AWS. We want to learn how to deploy to multiple cloud providers. So I will be recommending, if you want to really no IAC. Terraform Lumi is also fast coming up. Yeah, but the key value, Jason also uses key value, but for YAML is more of indentation. So it will again give you proper way of saying what needs to be in provision. So our instance type now, you can describe it, the type of the instance and the defaults and what have you. Okay, we'll come down to resources. This is still, again, this can get really, really complicated. That's why, okay, yes, those are just references. Now resources are here. We'll try to break down this. Again, we'll go from simple to more advanced. We won't go to that advanced. We'll just, so I'm just showing this so you can see that your template file can really, really get complicated. Yeah. And then again, this is what we'll want to do. I'm not going to create this because it's just going to, because we have quite a lot going in here, ALB and then DB and all of those things that I do not wish to actually pay for today. So I'm going to come back to my CloudFormation. I'm going to leave here. And again, I will be creating a very simple template that we would use, template file. So again, you need to understand if you want to create a stack, you need a template, and your template is basically your YAML file. Yeah. So for me to do this, I will be introducing us to an IDE. It's called Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. So you can just go to your browser and do a Visual Studio Code download. It's a very lightweight IDEs and integrated development environment. So again, you guys will be writing code, writing configuration code, not developing full software now, but configuration, and then you want to take advantage of there are different IDs actually. You have quite a number of them, but for our use case, Visual Studio Code, in fact, most developers actually use this because there are different extensions. Before, if you wanted to develop a Java-based application, the only ID that was available then was NetBeans also. But now, then if you wanted to develop, say, a .NET kind of, a Windows kind of when I say Windows now, .NET or C Sharp. If you wanted to write C Sharp, you probably be thinking about Visual Studio. So you have Visual Studio, which is like the full version of Visual Studio. Visual Studio is an IDE also, is fully integrated, but Visual Studio Code is more lightweight. It's open source also. But Visual Studio itself is not completely free. We have quite a number of free ones, so you can download depending on what operating system you have. Once you click on the download, it will download an installer for you, and then you can install it very, very straightforward like that. But I have that installed already, because if I don't have it installed, then I won't be here. So for those that are willing to follow along this, I think I will take a pause here. So we'll take a 10 minutes break for those that want to download, and then we'll want to follow along also. And then when we get back, we'll continue with this. I hope this is fine, guys.
Are we going to be using Visual Studio today? Or
yes, we are. We will be using it right now. That's what I said. We'll be using it today, and also when we get into the IAC module, that's what we'll be using mostly. Again, all of our configuration will be doing it in here. All right. And then we have quite a number of, we call them helpers extensions now that would save you having it for code completion, IntelliSense. You can even have your AI companion, help you. I have Copilot installed, so it makes life easy for me, even though it comes with its own challenges. Anyways, again, your documentation will be your most trusted, go-to reference now. Yeah, your AI companion would help you. In a way, but it would introduce some experience. It will introduce so many old code for you, and then when you run into even more problem. But it's always it comes in very, very handy. So I have Copilot here. Yeah, you'll see some of these features, when we get back. All right, we'll take a 10 minutes break now, then start writing configuration when we get back. Hi guys, welcome back to the second half of today's session. I hope you guys, for those that want to follow along, or even if you're not now, we'll be using the Visual Studio Code moving on. For this particular demo, I won't be dwelling too much on it because I'm just going to use it to create a very arbitrary configuration file that we would be using we'll be using now. I hope you guys can hear me.
We can.
All right, thank you very
Should
much.
we do the install Git, then probably the built-in terminal, the install Git and all?
Let's take it bit by bit. Just install the Visual Studio for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will be coming to File and opening it out. New text file is fine. Okay, no, I want to save it first. I think it's always safer to save it. So I'm just going to do a new file and then text file. I'm just going to type in, let me just call this submerge PR this time of the day. Come on, man. I'm just going to call it July Cloud. So YAML files take the extension .yaml. You can have .yaml or .yml, but I think it's always safe to just put YAML. So you type in this here, and I'm going to create a new file to ask for me to save it, on my local machine. So I'm just going to save this on my desktop, and I'm going to create this file, and then I can start writing my different configurations, templates now. It's a template file, basically. We'll call it a template file, CloudFormation template file. So like I said, most of the things that you will be creating, you would not be writing them from your head. It's always, you would be referencing the documentation, and the best way, depending, Google is our friend. So we can take advantage of generative AI so if I want to say I want to start creating resource now in here, again, I just want to demonstrate, this is for now. We have a resource part here, resources rather. Yeah. See, I've not even started typing, and then this as
So question, please. So did you have to install a plugin to get IntelliSense on this?
Yes.
Because okay. So what plugin was installed?
This is not just IntelliSense now. IntelliSense is different from, this is
from
this is Copilot actually
Copilot.
doing all of this. So depending on what you want to on what you are doing, you have different extension. If you search for YAML, so if you need full completion, you can download this YAML language support. This will give you all of the it's all of
Okay.
it do for you.
Looks like I already have it, but it's not. When I did what you just did, I didn't get that whole thing. Was
No,
that
that was that IntelliSense code completion is quite different
it's
from
different
what
from, yeah, I mean, I get that. I'm just saying, like, so when you did resources, right? And then you went to line 2, what
yeah.
did you do to get that suggestion?
I've not even started typing anything. It just assumed that I was going to
But I didn't get that. So that's exactly my question.
uh so because it knows that this is a YAML file, and the fact that I
Okay.
put sources in here, Copilot
Okay.
is smart enough to know that, okay, maybe I'm trying to create an AWS resource. That's why it's actually bringing AWS in here.
So did you have to, is there like, is there like a Copilot plugin?
uh,
Because I'm not getting the exact, so if I'm trying to
oh
follow along
yes,
with
yes,
what you're
yes.
doing, okay. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, so you have, it's called GitHub Copilot.
Okay.
So you download the GitHub Copilot. It's not free
Okay.
though.
It's not free. Oh.
Yeah, yes, it's not free. It's not free.
Okay.
I think you pay $10 a month for it. And yeah, but there are other options. I think Black
Okay.
Box, see Black Box now is, yeah, Black Box AI is a free version. It also works, does wonders also, yeah, for in terms of coding assistance. Yeah, but I
Okay.
think this is more is well suited for developers. I've not tried it in terms of for configuration since I'm enjoying my Copilot. So, but I know a few developers that use it and they actually give very good reviews about it. So for those that do not want to pay
Yeah.
for Copilot, you can always use Black Box and
Yeah. So, but because for the Copilot right now, I'm trying to think of the um because I'm trying to do like a cost benefit analysis, right? So if I install it right now, I don't have enough project. I'm not doing anything that would really justify the use of, the $10 payment every month, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I mean, I would like to follow what you're doing, but I mean, I'm sure
So I'm
everyone
not
else
going
on the
to
call
use
would
it.
like
I'm
to.
not going to use it in this demo so that, because I know it's not everybody, it's not really useful. Again, it will make you lazy. It will if I start listing the disadvantage now, you guys will probably just see, why are you using it then?
Okay.
It doesn't give you updated configuration. That's what I've noticed from it, and I've seen developers even use it and then for query optimizations, and even makes it even worse. So except you understand what is given to you, it would give you like a template and then you can now build on it. But if you are learning, it's not the best to
It's not
you.
the best. Okay.
You just want to accept everything is given to you, and then so I will be taking the route of using the documentation, which I think is the best way to go, so that if you understand the documentation and then whatever generative AI tool you now want to use, you're able to read whatever it gives to you and say, okay, I know, I don't want this. Don't take this away. Thank you, though, but I don't want it. Yeah. All right. Again, that was just this. We're not using any of this. It will still try to force itself that let me help you, but nah. All right, so I will come back to this. So we have there are building blocks now for our template file. So there is the AWS template format version. This is not so just like when we want to write our shell script now, we always start with a shebang. So for our templates file, we can always start with template format version is not a requirement, just like your shebang again is not a requirement in scripting, even though by convention you always want to add it so that you can kind of have some to abstract some things away from you. So AWS suggests that you use the AWS template version. So if I come here and type for AWS template version format, this will bring me to the document. So whatever it is that I want to do, yeah, I always just type it out in my search bar, and then once it points to AWS documentation, I know that's what I'm actually looking for. So this again is optional, just identifies the capability of the templates. There's only one version currently as we speak. This is the JSON format and then the YAML format. So I'm just going to take this and then I'm pasting it in my configuration. And then I can now start having a list of resources that I want to have. Resources.
How did you get the AWS template formation version?
Again, I got it from AWS. I just typed, what was that prompt? AWS template format version, and then brought me to, okay, yes, I typed AWS template format version, and I came to the AWS documentation to get that. It's optional. Again, you don't have to always add it. It's not compulsory. Or I like to always add it for to tell. Sorry, excuse me. Let me know that this is a template file. Yeah. So the next building block you can have.
Sorry, Moyo. Template
Yes.
file. Make me understand. What's a template file? What is its function on this VS Code?
So a template file is basically a what I call a text file now that contains all of the resources, the services that you want to create or that you want CloudFormation now. Because if we just create this now, it's literally it can't do anything, but we'll be feeding it to CloudFormation and we'll use it to create a stack. Yeah, so if I want to create, say, a VPC, subnet, RDS, all of those AWS services now, I come in here, I sorry, I write out their configuration here, and then I take this template file. I will do all of these things now, feed it into CloudFormation, and then CloudFormation would now create everything that's I define in here. Create it in the AWS account for me. Yeah.
So, like you said, the template file, you mentioned earlier that it is not too necessary.
No, so this template file, there are building blocks. There are things that would make up that template file. Now, and I was likening to our script, our shell script now. So we begin our shell script by using the shebang, and that's just to point, to the runtime now to whatever compiler is going to run that shell script. It's not really, it's not necessary. It's optional. Yeah, and so also it's optional. We don't have to actually add it, but by convention, and then for some other things now, you probably want it, just to follow best practice. You always want to add it to your template file. Yeah. So this is just the template for it. Just basically, it identifies the capabilities of template file, and they've not added any other thing to it since 2010 that it has been done. So the only mandatory parts in our building block for our template, again, I would make this very, very basic, because I that's why I had to show you guys that's composer, what it generated. This can go to hundreds of lines of code. We have different resources. Imagine if you want to provision. So configuration as code, as we'll see, also comes with its own complexity, because everything you want to create now, you have to explicitly define it in here. We'll see this. You guys just hold on to that for now, but we'll see this in a bit. Yeah. So yeah, Eric.
So what other what other tools are on the market that does the exact same thing that CloudFormation does? Is Vagrant one of them?
Vagrant is an infrastructure as code tool, but is a server templating tool. So in infrastructure, we have, so I'll walk us through all of these things when we get to Vagrant is an infrastructure as code tool. Yeah, but let's just leave it at that for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Does
is that, I mean, that's the same thing as CloudFormation, right?
Yes, it does the same thing as CloudFormation. Yeah. But CloudFormation is
Does more.
AWS proprietary, and it
Okay.
does more than just creating. With Vagrant, you use it to provision virtual machines mostly. Don't go beyond. You can't use it to provision, say, a database now, or use it to um, configure, run configuration across different services. So it's mostly for virtual machine templating. We have
Okay.
different IAC tools, but if we want to say tools that actually are on par with CloudFormation, I mentioned Terraform and Ulume. Yeah, Terraform is also owned by HashiCorp. Vagrant owned by HashiCorp, Terraform owned by HashiCorp. Yeah, so with that, you know that they actually do different things. But so we'll be learning Terraform actually, and Terraform is cloud agnostic. You can use it to provision infrastructure across different cloud providers. In fact, they have over 200 providers. Whatever cloud provider you're using, you can even use it to provision resources locally on your local machine, just like you do with Vagrant. Yeah, so we'll learn that in our next module. It's time next week, actually. All right. So I want to provision an EC2 instance. I just want to keep this very, very basic. Yeah. So again, what I'll do is I'll just come to my browser and AWS CloudFormation EC2, and this will bring me to the EC2 page of this. Again, all of the CloudFormation documentation is actually here, but I didn't want to come to Cloud and then we start searching, because we have quite a number, I think over 200 services in here, and each service comes with, so for EC2 now, we have all of those things we talk about. If you want to create a capacity reservation, different things that you can actually do from EC2. So these are usually, they're called the data types now. So if you see this takes the format. Okay, let's use this. It takes the format. This is the service provider, that's AWS now, and then the service name, and then you now have a data type, like the kind of service, the sub service now that you want to create. So for the EC2 service, we have different, call them data types now, that you can create from an EC2, your EC2 fleet, your EIP, your EIP association, and all of those things now comes pre-bundled inside of EC2. Yeah, so that's why it's always safe to first search, and so it would narrow down what exactly you're looking for. It saves you a lot. Yeah, so the syntax of provisioning this particular resource now, it gives to you for the EC2 instance. Like I said, the YAML, or yeah, this is JSON now. It also uses a key value pair, although it still adds some extra closing and braces, but this is the syntax. I'm just going to come to YAML, which again is my preferred choice. but whoever is comfortable with JSON can, decide to use JSON. Is almost this is the same thing. It's just what you copy and paste inside of your template file that will be different now. So all of the different properties. So the type is EC2. This is the type of resource we want to create. And then this resource has a bunch of properties now. So depending on what you want to do, you can, mix and match this, just like we do in our in the console now. All that you can do in the console, all of those options, selecting your instance type, your AMI and what have you, your key file, your security group, your networking, and all of those things, you have it inside of as part as a property. And if you want to see exactly what that property is about, if you click on it, it will take you to the page where that property is. So I clicked on user data now, and then this is user data to tell you exactly what it is, whether it's required or not, how to actually use it. But again, that can get overwhelming, especially if you're starting out. So I always advise there are examples, basic examples. AWS is kind enough to give you like something you can leverage on now. Yeah. So what I do is if I'm, especially when I'm creating a service that I've not actually I've not created before, I just come by first starting out with like the most basic example, and then whatever needs to be stripped away, maybe some properties I don't understand, I strip it away, and then I start creating them one after the other, or using those properties that we have above, reading about them and then using them. So I want to create an EC2 instance with user data. So I want to start with that. Again, I'm not using this. Can be very, very annoying. That's why I ran for programming. So I'm going to use this as my test bed now for this configuration that we want to create. Again, you have to be very, very mindful of your indentation. So the resource is a block, and then underneath your resource now you have different types of resource. So and I think it uses two spaces to move, like, yeah. So this resource now is an object. Yeah. So again, I don't want to complicate this because YAML can every programming language actually comes with complexity. Yeah. But this uses indentation, and then you can have multiple resources. Yeah. But for each resource now, so I want to, this has brought in as extra one that I do not want. Yeah, and then it has had it. I'm going to come. No. Will. Yes. Go back. Let's do this. All right. So another good thing about your
Yeah. Hello, Moyo.
ID
Sorry. What do you
syntax.
just do now to align your indentation?
So I copied it and I did a shift tab. This will just move it back one space because of that resources that came underneath this. Actually, if this would have worked, if let me just take all of this away, and then let me remove these resources that I typed in myself. If I'd come in here and copied this as it, this would have been safer for me, and then pasted this. Again, it still didn't indent it properly. So probably copy and then do a shift tab, and then this would align it for you.
You said with which key? Shift tab.
Shift and tab, yes. That would,
Okay.
if you wanted to move forward, you're going to use tab, but because it was a one indentation away, so you shift tab.
Okay.
All right. So the resource I want to create, so it's always again a good practice to name your resources. Yeah. So and the essence of this is for referencing. So when you need to reference this particular resource now, so say I want to create, so I have a VPC now, and then I want to create my subnet inside of my VPC. So when I need to create that subnet resource now, I need to reference the VPC resource that was created. Again, I am trying to use an example of things that we have actually deployed, manually. And that's the essence of automating things. If you've not manually created those things, it's going to be hard to reference how those pieces come together, or why some things are being done, especially with code now. Yeah. So from our console now, when we create our VPC, we have to create your VPC first. Yeah. And then when you want to create your subnet now, I think one of the first option you have in there is to select what VPC that you want to create that subnet in. Sorry, guys, somebody's texting me and it's distracting me. Let me throw this one away. So you have to select what VPC you want to put that subnet in. Also, you want to create your security group, you have to select what VPC you want to put that security group in. So that is why it's always a good practice to. So this is just like is a name that is a logical name, now that you use in referencing this particular infrastructure or somewhere else. We won't, again, some of these things would still talk about them, when we doing IAC completely. We are even spending too much time that I didn't think we are going to spend on CloudFormation, but I just need to ensure that you guys understand whatever it is that we're doing. So I can call this whatever, my instance, I can call it Muyo, I can call it anything, but again, you want to always use a descriptive name when you are naming your resources. So I can call this my EC2, just so I don't use the same name that was picked from. So my EC2 instance or mobile EC2 instance. This does not go beyond of your configuration. Yeah, so the type is EC2 instance, and all of the properties now, that we have inside of this syntax. And then again, there is a key value pair, which basically, coincides with all of this properties that you have when you're setting up your instance. So again, make this very, very basic. Yes, because I want us to still do other things today. Where is my configuration? Yeah, so AMI ID, again, there are ways to actually dynamically get all of these things, but for now, I'm just going to come here and get an AMI ID for this region that I am in. So I'm going to launch the instance so as to get an AMI ID. Where is? Come on, give me an ID. All right, so I'm going to get this AMI ID. I'm going to use it as part of this. Then you can select what instance type that you want. Key pair. I know I have a key pair somewhere in here though. Well, let's just confirm. It's not necessary because I won't be SSHing into this, and it's not required. So I don't even know why I need it. So, but since we have, I'm just going to. So depending on the data type, yeah, I think it's always better to use single quote around your, if you have strings. So this is my key pair. I'm going to call.
I have a question.
94. Yes.
Instead of the back and forth, why don't just like the way when you're using either bash or CLI, whereby you just type in, if you're on that line of key pair or key name, and you just type in, give you the available option of key pair you have in your resources already, or is there no way for you to link your Visual Studio to your AWS so that they can see resources on your AWS instead of going back and forth?
So I mentioned that there are better ways to actually do this, but we are just starting from, we are building on something now. If I go ahead and start using references and mappings, conditionals in here, it's going to complicate things. So I want us to take it bit by bit. Again, we are not fully learning infrastructure as code here. So all of the features that are available, you can actually, like I said, in fact, you have most organizations that you work with, they'll probably not give you console access. So how are you going to get AMI? So you only have, CLI access, and you have to figure out a way of both communicating with, your all of the suite of AWS services using all of this code. Yeah. So I'm just trying to not complicate things. So you just bear with me for now.
So I also have a question. So I think that is kind of intuitive, right? The expectation would be if you deploy a CloudFormation
Stack.
command like a stack. Okay, that's the word, right? If you deploy one and for instance, there is an instance already called my EC2 instance, is it going to error out, or is it going to tell you
No.
what's error handling like in using this?
This logical name that you have here, like I said, does not have anything to do with resources running inside. This is mostly for your configuration here, for your template file. And so I'll use the VPC as an example. Say I want to, or okay, let me use an EIP now. So I've created this my EC2 instance, and I want to attach, in fact, I have this, I'm just going to create this on the fly I know my intelligence will help me here. So I want to let me just call this my EIP. I know once I start typing, so yeah, this will help me out. Yeah, so I want to create an elastic IP address now. This is the type EIP, and I want to automatically, it detected that I have an EC2, a resource called my EC2 instance, and I'm referencing it inside of this, creation of this EIP. So whatever it is you call it here is just is just inside of your configuration. If you want to maybe tag this resource, this particular resource now, you have the tag option, to tag it, and and you can have multiple resource named even the same thing. Yeah, tagged the same.
Okay, I guess my question is, so what we're essentially trying to do with this is to create EC2 instances on AWS, right? And then also create this EIP and all that stuff and associate it with the EC2 instance, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while we're creating this EC2 instance, right? We're working in an organization where there are like thousands of EC2 instances, and we don't know there is no defined naming convention, right, within the organization. So I try to create my EC2 instance, say my test EC2 instance, and I'm trying to use CloudFormation to deploy it.
Yeah.
Is there a way to check for conflict? I'm trying to make sure that when I deploy my CloudFormation and I'm creating my infrastructure, I'm not running into issues with name conflicts.
So when it comes to naming, this your question will be answered when we deploy this. I'll show you a few things that gets attached to resources that you create using CloudFormation and resources that you create manually. In fact, your CloudFormation does not even know that they exist. It just independently creates its own. And I'll briefly talk about configuration drifts later. So even when you create resources with CloudFormation and then you manually edit, those, resources, CloudFormation automatically, again, there are flaws in CloudFormation, which I believe Terraform, would help us, against. Yeah. So even when you edit those resources, CloudFormation does not automatically detect that, yes, we call it configuration drift now. But there is an option, there is a feature baked into CloudFormation where you have to manually go click and say, okay, yes, check if there is a drift in the configuration that I have compared, with the real life infrastructure now that is sitting in AWS. Yeah. So, but say you have, thousands of EC2 instances, and then you want to provision a new that was created, using some other, maybe manually or even created using any other IAC tool. if you now want to use CloudFormation, it will still tag those resources separately. That would make it kind of unique, So there won't be no name conflict or any such, yeah. Except maybe you're using CloudFormation to now redeploy. Say you have like a copy of this now. You have a copy of this inside of your same configuration. Yeah, with that, obviously it would, even by the time you even want to deploy that stack, it will detect that are you trying to create multiple, of these services with the same configuration. Yeah, to even flag it and then to probably fail, and then you have to come back and then fix that. Yeah. All right. Let's quickly round this up. So I will quickly pick a security group in here. I hope my default security group is what I pick, because I have a quite number of security group in here. So I don't know which default VPC security group where. So we'll make sure I choose this. If I choose any other security group that is not inside of by default, because I'm not creating VPC or referencing any VPC, it would deploy to the default VPC. Yeah, so I will actually, I don't think it's necessary to actually quote all of these things here. Well, I like to always follow. Come on. All right, so just to make this even better, I have again, this will just install HTTPD and then not really do anything, but we have a bash script that we used in one of our, I think in the scripting part or in our bootstrapping. So I'm just going to do this, and this is not indented properly. Something is wrong here. I think this is not well indented. Yeah. Right. So as smart as this thing is, the error was on this line, but it was flagging this line. So when you see things like this, you look around where up and down of where the error is, else you're just going to be looking for at the wrong place. So this is like a very, very basic configuration. Yeah, this depends on, this should work fine. I don't want to, yeah, I think this should be fine. All right, so this is saved already. So once I'm done creating my, writing all of the resources, as many as I want in here, there are two ways to actually deploy this. Like I said, you can deploy manually or come into AWS CloudFormation. I'm going to choose an existing template because I have the template already, and I'm going to upload a template file. I'm going to choose a file. I think it's on my desktop. Yeah, select this. This would upload it to, so it's creating an S3 bucket already, and it's uploading it to S3 automatically for us. You can also view this in the application composer. This will basically just show you the resources that you want to create, and you can also see your templates in code there also. You can also sync from gates. Again, this is, you can version control your templates, which is, don't know why they are just thinking of that now. So I'm going to name this stack. Let's call it July CloudFormation. And parameters, our stack does not, they are what we call parameters. Again, these are just a way to dynamically add, some dynamic content to your, but now everything we're doing is very, very hard coded. Again, very, very basic. So most of these options that would come across would not fit into our, so would not need to touch any of this stack policy, rollback configuration. Hopefully nothing will break, and template is ready. This is just okay, we don't have any parameter, nothing set. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And then we see create in these, all of the events that is happening. We'll see it pouring in once it starts creating the EC2 instance and all of those things. And when it's done, I'll see there are no resources yet. It's not permitted with message resources. So this did not set properties validation for. So I know this is what I said. So okay, let me check my EIP, see the options that I have in there. I was thinking depends on was maybe it has been deprecated. Okay, so it's just, I think domain is what they use now. Okay, so instance ID. So this is just what I need. I do not, so in my configuration, I added it depends on. Apparently, this is not a thing again. I was thinking Terraform, I had it right. So I'm going to delete this stack. Fortunately, I come back to my stack, delete complete, so I can create stack again. I'm going to save this. I have auto save undo.
Yeah. So how do you save in the Visual Studio?
So I think it's always a good, maybe for now you can choose. I have auto save
Okay.
automatically to save, but there are downsides to this. Yeah. So, but you can always do a Control S and save.
Okay.
Control S, and that will save automatically for you.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to upload the same file again. Hopefully nothing will break now. Maybe not touching anything. This is going to be, I spent more than time that I thought we use for this CloudFormation. Please just create and let's move on. Thank you. But I hope you guys understand what's from the high level, what CloudFormation is. All of everything that you can do manually, you can actually do. So while this is actually deploying, I mentioned that we can also do this using, well, probably need to enable my to make this.
I don't know if you can take this again. If you can, why this is creating, maybe you can just roll over the explanation again one more time for better understanding.
What did you say I should run over again?
Sorry?
What did you say I should run over again? I didn't get it.
This step, what you just did for this CloudFormation.
Oh, okay.
What from the gathering of the information you created on the VS.
Okay. So
what they apply for and the rest.
It was just choose your template file. Okay.
No, not here. On your Visual Studio.
Okay.
Yeah. Just roll it over again for understanding.
Okay, so we have different resources. We have different resources. Are basically our different services that we have in AWS now. Yeah, but okay, I think it's always better to use the AWS documentation for this. So we have different resources now. These are all of the resources. Everything that you can actually do from your console, it's a resource in AWS now. So those are the things you will be creating in here. So when I wanted to create the EC2 resource, first, intuitively, you want to first give a name to that resource. And I said our YAML is a key value pair kind of language. Yeah. So for this is an object now. So everything is an object. For this resource object, let's see, you see resource as a very large container. Inside of the resource, that container now, you can have different other objects, nested objects. Yeah. So, and then, yes, you can nest different things inside. So for this particular, this is another object now. I now want to start describing these resources, some metadata, about this resource. The type of resource now is an EC2 instance. This EC2 instance now can have multiple properties. Yes, properties like the image ID and a bunch of other properties. Again, this would be referenced using the AWS documentation. We can have quite a number of these properties in here.
Yeah, sorry, Mario. Sorry. The AMI, I saw you copying the AMI from your AWS environment. Yeah. So you are creating a new EC2 instance. So which AMI are you copying there?
Yeah. So depending on what instance you want to create now, if I want to create an Ubuntu machine, if I want to create a Windows machine, that would determine the AMI. I mentioned the AMI is basically like it's basically all of the initial software, the operating system, all of those.
Now, so if you are creating, if you are using CF to deploy an instance, you on your AWS environment, you select the AMI of the specific, maybe Windows or Linux, or
yes,
you select the AMI of that specific one. Yes, makes sense to me now.
Yeah. So when I went to EC2 earlier, I had to choose. I think it was on Linux. Yeah. So oh boy. So this was on Linux, and automatically this just brought out a Linux AMI. If I switch to Ubuntu now, this will give me a different AMI. If I choose Windows, it will give me yes, I know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
The part I don't understand, where were you getting that July CF script from? Like, that's the part I don't understand. Like, where were you getting the script from? The one you were, is it from the Visual Studio?
So I named this July cloud.yaml.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I came to my CloudFormation, when I wanted to create my stack now, I now pointed, I wanted to upload a template file, and I choose that file that I have on my local machine now.
Okay.
That's what I uploaded to CloudFormation. Yeah, and that's what it used in creating this stack that we have in here. So done. This is the July CF. So this is just why I called that stack. The stack is, a collection of EC2 resources now that you have, initially configured inside of your template file. So you can have multiple template files and use to create multiple stacks now. Yeah, so I have this created. I have 2 resources. I should have my EC2 instance. If I click on this.
Sorry, Moyo. A stack is a collection of EC2 instance, right?
Not EC2 instance of resources. AWS
resources.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this stack is created from the the template on this VS. Now, can we create a stack directly from the console?
I showed you earlier now.
Oh.
I showed earlier. We can create. So when you want to create your stack now, you can choose a template. And I showed this. You can choose a template. Say what we did in our last class. I mentioned this, and you can, if I go ahead and create this, again, this will create quite a number of resources. I can name that stack, whatever I want to name it. And then these, I mentioned parameters now are a way to dynamically alter the things that you want to have created. So with this, I can decide to be as part of this stack now. So I can write this, okay, so let me even go back now. Let me view this in an application composer now. That's why I showed us this first. This is also a stack now, but this contains quite everything that we did in our last session, that WordPress with the ALB, the target group, and our database. Okay, without the this thing, what's that storage that we use now? File system now. So if I click on template now, this is exactly, even though, okay, this is the JSON version of this. If I switch to YAML, this is exactly what we just did in our Visual Studio. So if I go ahead and copy all of this and paste in Visual Studio, I can still, again, don't know why I want to do that though. So this is creating a key pair. And again, this is a very, very complex one. Yeah. And this is referencing quite a number of things. I had to be very, very granular, with what I did, so that when you see more advanced configuration like this, most of them actually, so it starts from this resources part. So this is starting out with the application load balance. And if you see all of the different resources now, they are kind of indented under the resource parts. For our load balancer security group, these are the properties for this. For the egress and outgress, you have to load balancer listener, our target group, web server security group, web server group, launch configuration. I don't know why they are still it's launch templates we use now, not launch configuration. So, and all of those things now that we have inside here. So I think this is where this VP. So yes, you can do this directly from this would give you there are templates that you can use. Again, there's the build from an application composer. I would leave you to explore this. I don't find it very interesting. You will be choosing the components that you want from here, and then say I want an S3 bucket. I put an S3 bucket in here. If I look at my template file, I see that that has been auto-generated. So you can explore this as you want. Come to the canvas and then add whatever it is that you want to add again. It would generate that template file from you. But I believe it's better you guys understand this template file, because if it's auto-generating it for you and then you come here, you don't understand what is going on in here. If anything breaks, you're not able to even come back and fix this. Yeah, I hope that's fine, please.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have our EC2 instance up and running already. Yeah. And we have an elastic IP address attached to this. I'm sure this will work fine without any issues. That's the manual way of doing it. We can actually do all of this also from our Visual Studio Code. We have a terminal in Visual Studio Code that we can use. So if I come here and click on New Terminal, this would open up a terminal for me. I hope this is loud enough. So to confirm that I have AWS configured, I know I have AWS configured. So when you configure AWS, yeah, so automatically it's just a terminal, opening a terminal in your machine also. Yeah, so if I do an AWS IAM list users, just to confirm that I I'm connected to AWS. Yes, I see that I have access to AWS. And so for you to actually do this, you must have AWS CLI configured and installed on your machine. Yeah, so we can actually do all of those. Why is this not loading? Oh, why is this not loading? This is our part of our, I think our next agenda is supposed to be the solutions architect discussion. Can somebody, I know we have people, can you, from what we have thus far, can you guess why this is not loading? I didn't even think of this, but it just occurred that something is wrong. This will not actually load. Guys, that's where our thinking at. Our solutions architecting discussion has started. So you actually do something and then, you know.
Is it because my Apache has not been installed, or I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I don't know too. How do I confirm this? Let me connect to this and confirm if I have Apache installed. We can't actually confirm that yet. I think we actually added this and EC2 a key pair. So how do we check if Apache is installed?
So that's what will probably give access to be accessed over the internet or something.
Show your network configured properly. Hey, there's so many things fundamentally wrong with our EC2 instance. So plenty things we did wrong with that. What VPC are you running in? Yes, default is a VPC and the subnet. Why can't I connect to this? Oh, so I think, wait, the security group, what security group did we have in here? So I think the first place I want to go to, if I can't connect and I can't access anything, I want to go to my security group and see, I have an inbound rule for all. So this should work ordinarily. But I'm seeing the source of this inbound rule as, where is this source coming from? What security group is this? There's an external security group. So I want to not take out. So this is probably why I can't connect. So I'm going to just be very, you may not specify for an existing reference group ID. You may. Other block to be specified. So this is not okay. So the security group that I added, I'm just going to add an inbound rule for SSH first. Let's do for SSH. I'm sure this is why I can't connect also. And again, just to, I know it's because I don't have an HTTP rule to allow HTTP. That's why this is probably not working. So with that fixed, I want to believe this will work. I don't know why. Let me try to connect to this again. Yeah. One of the things that okay, so this is detecting now that I have my security group is feeling like a principalities and power. All right, so I am connected to this. If I do a sudo, how do they status the HTTPD now. HTTPD. What did we install on that instance? Oh, I see why now. So, hey, has anybody seen my error? I have plenty error in this. So I am using, so obviously this would not work. So sudo apt Apache to status or its status. What am I doing? Somebody should help me out. I'm all over the place. Sudo, it's not apt I'm looking for. System, CTL, Apache to status. Muyo, just calm down. Apache. Apache 2 could not be found. And that's because, so this is an Amazon Linux machine. And in my user data, I was trying to actually reference, I think I have a CD, let's see what actually happened here. Logs. There is a file in here. Cloud init logs. The cloud init output. So let's do a there's the cloud init output. All right. Okay, so this. So I think he actually downloaded all of those things, but it did not install fingerprint, image, private key saved and all of those. So command not found. So I see a command not found, apt command. It tried running the update and upgrade and all of those things, but it could not. But when it got to line 5, it could not, there was no directory because Apache was not installed, but it was able to still pull in around the wget, I think wget, so it was able to pull all of those. And so I don't know where actually did you save all of this. Must have saved those somewhere, which I don't know. Well, I see my error now. So I will quickly use this opportunity to just show us how to deploy this another stack from our local machine directly instead of having to do it from AWS. So I can write a CloudFormation. Where is my? So let me be sure that I am in the right directory. Let's do a print working directory. No, I'm not in the right directory. So I will come to desktop and I have my somewhere on this desktop. So I can do AWS CloudFormation, create stack, create stack. What's the stack name? Stack name. Let's call it EC2 July, because I can't think of any other name. And then the templates body, template body now. Yes, template body. And then I'm going to point it to that file because this usually should be the full part of that of where my file is, but because it's in the same directory, that's why I had to go to the directory that I am in. I call this July So before I do this, should have autocomplete. So I have July, YAML, and I can append. If I don't add the file to it, it will throw an error. Yep. So create stack name, and I hit enter. Yep. So this has gone to AWS and then it has gone to US East 2. I hope that is where I configured my. So I come back to my CloudFormation stack. I should have two. Okay, so I have a stack creation in progress. And I created it with the same configuration. Come on now, nigga. I did not edit this. I was going to edit it, but it just skipped my mind again. Oh, come on. Ah, yeah, I should add.
It's to try and fix the errors that we made from the first creation.
Yes. So all I need to do is just get an Ubuntu AMI, and that should fix everything. But I was going to do it. I don't know why. It skipped my mind. So all I need to do is just pick an Ubuntu AMI, and that should actually fix everything. So it will still launch the instance. It's just that this user data now would not actually run. That's
Yeah.
it. So I'll quickly delete this stack. I have a delete. I can actually delete this. What's that? I'm all over the place. Come on. All right, so I will just do this. I think all I need is I don't need a stack to create.
Won't this auto-write the one you previously sent to the stack?
So there are different names.
Okay.
So it's going to delete. So I think it was Henry that asked. Now, so see, I deployed the same. So this is created the same thing now. If I come to my EC2 instances, so the same configuration, even though I deployed one from, using the terminal, the console, and the other from the terminal, but there are two different resources. You didn't tag them, even though if we come to tags now, we see there are three different tags automatically attended to this. So we have that logical name that we actually called that EC2 instance resource now, and we have an additional stack ID. So this is the logical ID. This is the stack ID, and this would definitely be unique across your different stacks now, because for each stack has a different stack ID and then the stack name. So these three tags automatically differentiates this resource from this resource, even though they were actually baked from the same, pie, or I don't know, whatever, the same dough. Yeah, even though it has the same logical name, again, a few things that will differentiate this. So I'm just going to delete this from here because this is so sad. I do the same error twice. And I'm going to delete this also. The beauty of it that it will delete everything that it was. I can delete from here. I can also have deleted from here. If I try to
Will
delete,
it delete the EID as well? The elastic ID.
yes,
IP.
everything would go.
Okay.
Everything that you add, that you created using this template,
Yeah.
would also be deleted. Yeah, so I think I've replaced this. I'm just going to run this, and then it's sad that we didn't go beyond this. So infrastructure as code can actually be both interesting and complicated at the same time. Malumi, I've not heard your voice in this class. Right, so we have those deleted. I'm just quickly going to rerun this create stack, and hopefully does not. I was going to even demonstrate the drift for us, but I think time would fail us to actually do all of those things.
Sorry, Moyo. I don't. Please, can you go back to your VS, please? Okay. So this one you just created now, right? And the one you created using this template, there are all different ways we can create a stack.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now on this second one where you use on the terminal,
yeah,
I could see you didn't use the AMI. So is there something different from that?
The AMI is part of our template. Wow. And we are referencing that template file here. It's just the same thing we did. So where we have this template body, you can liken that to, say you come to create stack and then you are choosing, uploading a template. So you're just pointing this. It's a template file. So just exactly from your command line.
Or you have already done the linking of the AWS account to the terminal before now.
Yes. So for you to actually run this, you must have your AWS CLI, installed and configured. So I think I have my stack done. So events, great.
So Moyo, sorry, I think I'm still a bit lost here. You say for us to be able to do that on the terminal, we'll have to have AWS CLI installed.
Yes.
On this terminal or where?
So if I decide to run it part of the features of having your Visual Studio Code, your IDE now is this terminal is likened to, so if I had written, I don't know why I would want to do that. If I do the same thing from here and I run that same command from here, it would give me the same thing because if I try to run it again, this is going to try and replace that stack actually exists. And so because my AWS CLI has been configured globally, I can actually, whatever terminal I use, if I have another terminal installed on my machine, I can also run that from that terminal.
Okay.
So this is done creating. Hopefully, that error has been fixed, but I'm thinking it will not work because our security group still does not have okay, so this works actually. So our error was in the AMI. We're using a different AMI and then we're using the wrong commands in our AMI, and that was on me. Pardon me. I think we can call it a date.
Before we go, can you please drop the link of this whole commands we use on the Visual Studio, so we can try to replicate it on the CloudFormation.
The link. So that's why I actually showed how I was getting those documentation. So
yeah,
do a CloudFormation, whatever service you want to, and is available to everybody. Okay. Before we go, are there any questions? Henry, Jimoke, Taiwo, you guys have been very quiet in this session. It's like even Mr. Hartford itself, I literally just heard his voice once. Is it that you guys are busy doing other things, or I don't want to believe it's the complexity because we didn't actually do any, I want to say technical thing today.
I'm here.
Okay, so you followed along everything we did today, even with the back and forth.
We are following.
Hey, that does not sound convincing, but it's okay. All right, guys, if there are no questions, would meet tomorrow and then we'll continue with our agenda. So tomorrow, I don't know, you guys, somebody would need to volunteer this classwork. You guys would work together, and then I'm just going to sit back and see how you guys can actually go about it. It's very, very basic, and you would have maybe like 5 minutes to do it. Yeah, so I don't know who would be bold enough to volunteer, and the rest of them will just guide you guys along. Yeah, but again, when we get to that bridge tomorrow, we'll cross it. Have a lovely night rest, y'all. Thank you very much for listening to me. See y'all tomorrow.
Thank you.